Hey guys, it's time to ditch the glossy brochures and we are going to get to the unvarnished truth about what it's going to really take in terms of all-in costs to move to Portugal. Because let's be honest, the dream of Portugal can really turn into a nightmare if you don't understand the true cost of relocating. Hola and welcome back to Permission to Be Wealthy, where we're all about creating joy and a life of freedom. And for many of you, that dream includes Portugal. I'm Stephanie, and together with my husband Joseph, we've made the leap abroad ourselves, not once, but twice, living abroad since 2018. And we weren't born into wealth. Honestly, we might have been stuck in the rat race if we hadn't gotten control of our finances. For my tech career journey, going from 30,000 to earning multi-six figures a year to becoming debt-free millionaires at the age of 37, our experiences taught us that designing a life you love is absolutely possible. And now, living here in Portugal for the past 3 years, we run Move Me to Portugal, helping others like you find your dream home here and make this incredible transition a reality. So let's say that you're picturing that charming apartment in Porto, or the delicious pastéis de nata, or maybe even learning some Portuguese phrases. That is truly an exciting vision. But before you pack your bags, let's talk about the real deal. The actual money that you're going to need in hand to make this move a success. Because it isn't about just the lower cost of living once you get here. Today, we're going to focus on the initial investment that's required to establish your life here in Portugal and actually make the move. So first, we're going to break down the absolute must-pay costs to get your foot into the door here in Portugal, the non-negotiables, the things that you have to have a budget for right from the very beginning. And while we go through this, I'm going to write down these numbers, one section for one person and one section for a family of four, because we are a family of four. So first, let's get to the NIF, and that's the Portuguese fiscal number. Think of this as your social security number here in Portugal. And for us, because we didn't have the opportunity to come to Portugal from Singapore and be here physically, we paid for someone to help us get our NIF. And that was $150 a person, but for 4 people, you'd have to multiply that times 4. So we're going to add that in at $600 for the entire family of 4 example. All right, so now let's get to the visa application and the fees associated to that. These are the fees associated to you actually going there and processing your visa, not just for you, but anyone in your family. So I looked up the cost of the national visa at the VFS office in San Francisco. And as of right now, that said the fee was $119.17. So I'm going to round that up and I'm going to put $120 for the single person as the example. And over here, I'm going to put $480 for a family of 4. We applied out of Singapore. It was a little bit more expensive, but nonetheless, that's about right. All right, so the next one that we want to talk about is opening a bank account and actually funding it. This is essential for residency and daily life. You're likely going to need to deposit a certain amount to open the account. And for someone, let's say, applying for the D7 visa, you're going to have to show at least a year of minimum wage in Portugal to be covered in the account. That's 100% for the main applicant, 50% of minimum wage for the spouse, and 30% for anybody who is applying to come on the D7. If they are kids, the minimum wage per month in Portugal is 870 euros. So I'm going to write that here, 870 times 12, right, is going to give you 10,440 euros for an entire year. But because that's in euros, 1 USD is equal to 0.88 euro as of right now. I'm filming this at the beginning of April after everything has gone on with Trump and the tariffs and the dollar. Things are crazy right now, but this is the reality of our situation. So that's going to equate to $11,864 to justify in a Portuguese bank account that you can cover a year's worth of living expenses as a single individual based off of minimum wage. Now, if you're doing this for a family of 4, this is the 870 euros, right? Plus 870 times 50% for the spouse. This is the main applicant over here. Plus the 870 times, and I'm running out of space here, but it's 30%, and I'm going to do times 2, right? Because you might have 2 kids here in this example. That's going to equate to 21,900. Let's see that that comma there, 924 euro. And with that converted to USD, 24K, 914. Okay. So these are sizable numbers. Of course, you're going to be able to use this money to live off of in Portugal, but this is what you have to plan for if you're coming in on a D7. All right, so now we're going to get to the next part, and this is flights. So the cost of getting you and or your family to Portugal. I looked up flights last night from San Diego to Lisbon in early June 2025 via United as an example. It's going to cost $733 for a one-way ticket from San Diego, SD, to Lisbon. And if you were flying as a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children, that's $2,932. And some of you might say, well, you did VFS fees from San Francisco. Imagine if you did live in San Diego, you would likely have to go to San Francisco for your VFS appointment. So even if you live there, this kind of works in the example overall. All right, so now let's get to getting your NISS. This is your Portuguese Social Security number. So if you are going to be working in Portugal, even if you work remotely for a company abroad. So let's say you're applying for the D8 visa, the digital nomad visa, it's going to be required that you get an NISS because you are working actively in Portugal, whether it's here or someone else. If you need to get an NISS and you can't get here physically, or the online application is a total pain, which it was for me whenever I was applying for Joseph's NISS, you can also pay someone $150 to get that done for you. If you've got 2 people, let's say a mother and a father or a couple that are also working, then that's 150 times 2. And so we'll put $300 for that specific cost. All right, so now let's talk about the initial rental costs. This usually includes 2 months of security deposit and 2 months of rent up front. You definitely want to make sure that you're asking questions. If you're getting asked to put more than 2 months of rent up front, anything like 6 to 12 months, honestly, that's outlandish. When we moved into our starter apartment 3 years ago, which was a 2-bedroom apartment in Chiado, that was $2,000 a month. That apartment now in 2025 goes for easily $2,500 a month. So in that scenario, let's say $2,500 a month, you're going to have to multiply, that's euros. You're going to have to multiply that times 4. That's going to be 10K euro. And if you're going to convert that, that will ultimately be in USD that you have to plan for, $11,364. We now, as a family of 4, our starter apartment was smaller. Now we're in a little bit larger place. It's a 3-bedroom. We are paying $3,000 a month for that. So if you're going for a little bit of the larger side, a little bit more comfortable space for a full family of 4, and let's say you need an office because you're a remote worker, we are paying $3,000 a month. Let's say 4 months up front. That's going to be 12K euro, and that converted is going to be $13,637 to plan for what you need to put up front if you are renting in Portugal whenever you start off here. Now I'm going to total all this up here in a little bit, but now keep in mind, these are the foundational costs, the first hurdle that you need to clear whenever you're planning to move to Portugal. So if I add all of that up, that for the person in this 1-person scenario is $24,381 that you need to be planning for, being liquid cash that you can put in these various areas to plan for Portugal. And if you are a family of 4, then you need to be planning for about $42,863 because you really have a lot more to put forward in terms of being able to justify that you can cover your cost of living from a minimum wage perspective. And if you're getting a little bit of a bigger place, of course, then you'll be spending a little bit more. This is just information to start getting your mind thinking about the true cost of moving to Portugal. You may have to adjust some of your plans, or you may have to start more aggressively saving so that you have some of this stuff established now to make this dream a reality. So now you might be thinking, okay, these are some expenses, but now I can probably cut some corners here and there. And while being mindful of your budget is really important, I totally get that, underestimating these initial costs can lead to some hurt later on. And some of you might also be wondering, are there any other hidden or unexpected costs that we need to be planning for? And my answer to that is absolutely yes, there are some other costs. We've been speaking to hundreds of people over the last year and have seen some trends in these unexpected things that are coming up. So I want to cover that here in this next section. And the first thing that comes to mind is starting off with the furnishing of your living location. Unless you're renting a place that is fully furnished, which can be a little bit more expensive, you need to budget for furniture, maybe appliances, maybe other household items. And in our initial experience, we were renting a fully furnished place, which was great. Needed to buy a couple of things like beds for the boys. They were still really little, and we needed some other household things. That ran us about 2,000 to 3,000 euro whenever we did it. For this example, I'm going to say that that was 2,500 euro overall. So that ended up being 2841 when it came to USD. Now that we've moved into our 3-bedroom, that apartment was actually unfurnished. And so I really did track how much we spent to furnish this place. This was beds in all the rooms. We needed a couch. We needed a dining area. We had an office that we had to furnish. We put a number of rugs in because if you have lived in Portugal or spent a lot of time here, in the winter it can get cold. So having rugs was really helpful in like maintaining some of the warmth whenever we were in the colder months. And we legitimately, with patio furniture included, spent 10,000 euro whenever we moved to this unfurnished apartment. And so if we convert that from a USD standpoint, that's going to be $11,864 that you want to be thinking about, being mindful of, and planning for. All right, so now let's talk about school enrollment fees, if this is applicable for you, because these can vary really significantly depending on the type of school that you choose for your kids. But for the sake of our discussion today, I'm going to share our 2 specific experiences. I'm not going to share the specific schools or the actual like full end costs that we saw. We can talk about that in another discussion. And for the sake of privacy for our kids, we started off in a creche because our kids were little when we moved to Portugal. And so when we applied for that creche, we were asked to pay, 250 euro up front plus 350 per kid. So I'm going to put 2 in here to get them enrolled in that creche. Now our kids are a little older. They're getting into grade school and we are moving into full international school. So private international school. It's about 1,000 euro per month for our kids. And what they've asked for is essentially 1 month of expenses as the enrollment fee and then 2 months paid up front. So we have 2 kids, 3 months up front. So we're having to pay 6 months up front. So 1K times 6. So we are planning and budgeting for 6K euro right now for our kids to get them enrolled and fully established into the school that they're going to be going to. The next thing that you want to consider is tax consultation. And for anybody moving to any country, tax consultation is really important because as you become a tax resident in another country, you need to understand what the tax implications are. I am typically seeing this, and this is a USD cost. Seeing this cost about 350 USD. I highly recommend it because you get to better understand how the tax system works, how the filing works, what you need to have. Do you have an HR? Do you not? Are you a business owner? All those things. Make sure that you ask all the questions in that discussion. And then there's a lot of other stuff over here. Things like, do you need a plan for any temporary living situation? Because maybe you have an unfurnished apartment. There are a few things that you need to get furnished whenever you first land. You might have some other transportation costs. So let's say you decide not to furnish all your stuff here, right? But you decide to send a container over. That can be an additional cost. Or there could be some other unexpected bureaucratic fees that you may not have planned for, but need to have some cushion for. All in, if you look at all of this, you could be planning anywhere from between $24,000 all in as an individual, or if I add all these things up, it's about 60K for a family of 4. And that's assuming that you take on all these additional costs like the furnishing and the additional school cost and the additional tax consultation. I wanted to give you like a high level range of what you could potentially be expecting when it came to the true cost of actually getting here. Not necessarily the cost of living here, but the cost of going from point A to point B and starting your life here in Portugal. Now look, the opportunity cost of not planning for these expenses isn't just the extra money that you have to scramble for. It's the added stress, it's the potential delays in your residency process potentially, and ultimately the postponement of a peaceful transition for you, your life, and your family's life here in Portugal. So you might be asking yourself, so how do I avoid these pitfalls and ensure that you are truly ready to make the move financially? We've created a couple of resources based on our own specific journey and the experiences of guiding hundreds of other people as they move to Portugal, whether that be through my coaching practice helping women and families get on track to better manage their money, or what Joseph and I are both doing to help other people move to Portugal. If your big dream is to one day have the financial freedom to live anywhere in the world, and that could include Portugal, then I highly recommend my Kickstart Your Relationship with Money course. This is a perfect starting point. It was designed for you to get through it in 30 minutes, because I know you're busy, and give you the tools and the fundamental knowledge to take control of your finances and build that financial foundation, even an emergency fund, for your future. And now if Portugal is calling your name and you're ready to dive into the specifics of making a move here, our Portugal Starter Series is just right for you. This free 5-day series delivers a clear step-by-step set of information right to your inbox, covering the essential things that you need, from visas to housings to getting your NIF and a lot more. All of that is listed for you in the description below. Now look, I'm going to shoot it to you straight. Moving to Portugal is an incredible opportunity. We have absolutely loved it, but it really required a lot of careful planning, especially when it came to our finances. My goal today was not to let you get sideswiped by unexpected costs and have that derail your dream. And for those of you who are ready, I wanted this to serve as a real call to take action today, to educate yourself, and to really figure out the investment that's required to start building the financial runway to make your move to wherever you decide to start your life a true reality. What questions do you have about the costs of moving to Portugal? Please feel free to share them in the comments below. We are here to help. And if you found this video valuable, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel for more insights into financial independence, and share it with anyone that is considering this exciting journey. Obrigada for watching, and I hope today's video gave you a little bit more food for thought on how to give yourself permission to be wealthy. Até já.